I told you last time about this brand new feature, which I'm, of course, very proud and honored to participate in Black Agenda Report. And the second edition is out now. It's called U.S. Corporate Media Watch. Okay, so this is the second edition. Of course, we dedicate this to Glenn Ford because, you know, Glenn Ford, I mean, what can I say? He co-founded the publication. He's been an anti-imperialist, anti-war, pro-black liberation fighter his entire life, and it's really a huge loss. And you know, he passed away recently, which is very heartbreaking. I had the pleasure, the honor to speak with him a little bit, but others knew him better than me, and I already was very, you know, humbled by his presence. So we dedicate this to him, and we talked a little bit about the war in Afghanistan. You know how the media is trying to prolong the war. We talked about how these schools, like the one I just mentioned, Eton, you know, which is in England, Oxford, Cambridge, Ivy League, you know, They really help promote imperialism. And of course, that's not to say that everyone who goes there is an imperialist. No, that's not what we're saying. But there's something to be said about who goes there, right? Oftentimes, the people who go to these schools come from powerful families to begin with. You know, when we look at, for example, Yale, who's gone to Yale? George Bush, his father, George Bush Sr., Dick Cheney, right? John Kerry, or am I mistaken? It's a very long list, huh? Paul Wolfowitz, you know, all these neocons, just to mention neocons went there. You go look at the Democratic Party, half these people went to Ivy League. Even Trump, you know, every single president since 1990 has been to an Ivy League institution, including Trump. Yeah, I know. It's hard to believe. But even Trump. And what does that tell you? When every president since 1990 has gone to these institutions, there's a connection here. You can't deny it. I think at least 10% of people in Congress went to Ivy League institutions. And as I mentioned, the presidential thing speaks for itself. If you look at the UK, David Cameron, former prime minister, Boris Johnson, current prime minister, they both went to Eton. And Eton is a boys' school in England, and it's one of the top feeders to Oxford and Cambridge. By feeder, we're talking about schools that feed students into Oxford and Cambridge. It's one of the top three, right? So many of the people who come out of Eton College go to Oxford and Cambridge. So there's a connection here, right? And there's I think 20. I wrote it in the article. It's really astonishing. It's 20 prime ministers who have graduated from Oxford and Cambridge. So obviously, you know, these institutions provide a very valuable education if we're talking about sciences, especially, right? Literature and literary domains and all this. But, you know, there's a connection to be had. And this is just one of the things we talked about. I know I'm going off on a tangent. You should definitely go read it. I'm very honored, again, to have this opportunity in Black Agenda Report. So, yeah. And of course, check out all the other brilliant work they do. Danny Haifong, you know, he's also doing great work, support his journalism. And, you know, Margaret Kimberly, I had her on my latest episode from Press TV. So that the full interview will be up here. But in the meantime, go watch it. It's on Afghanistan. You know, just they're the best, really. You know, Black Agenda Report is one of those things where it just cuts through all the noise. You know, it's just straight to the point about racial injustice, economic injustice, about imperialism, straight to the point. There's no, you know, zigzagging or mincing words. And that's what I've always loved about it, why everyone loves this publication. It's really legendary. Yes, also I was correct. John Kerry did go to Yale. And the reason I remembered that, or I was pretty certain about it, was because when he was, hold on, how old was I in 2004? 12, I guess, 11 or 12. And I was watching the presidential debates between Bush and Kerry. Yeah, I've always liked politics, man. Also, it's funny because I remember during the Iraq War, I can't remember if it was just before they captured Saddam or just afterwards, but, you know, we had to do something in English class. And, I mean, I was the best in the class anyway, so I wasn't really interested in the work. But I was wasting the valuable project time reading news about the Iraq War instead, and I got into shit for that. I got into trouble. But fuck that teacher, and I was right. So, you know, I've always been into it, man. But my point here is that I remember at the time hearing about this, I think from my parents, that, you know, like, this is all bullshit. Like, these two went to school together, right? It really does speak into that. Like, these these people pretend to hate each other like Democrats and Republicans. They're friends behind the scenes. They go to brunch together. They went to school together. And Bush and Kerry went to the same goddamn school, like, you know, and then they get on the stage and they pretend to duel and to fight and to, you know, smack up each other. It's like Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton, you know, in the presidential debates in 2008, he smacked her up pretty good, right? Because he took her record about the Iraq war, how she supported Iraq, and he kept hitting her over the head with it because, you know, well, I mean, there are a lot of people who still think Iraq war was justified. Very unfortunately, there are people who exist like that. But already by 2008, it was becoming very clear to those who perhaps didn't see before that Iraq was a huge failure and it was a monstrosity and it was a war crime. And so, you know, Hillary would say, oh, well, I have a huge record, which is, you know, true. You know, she was not just first lady, she was also a senator for New York. So, yeah, she does have a record in politics, but what is that record? And then Barack Obama would be like, yeah, you voted for the Iraq war, you supported the Iraq war. And so he did that, and, you know, it cost her politically. But what happened afterwards? Was she not Secretary of State under Barack Obama's administration? You know, these people, they get on stage, they slap each other up, and then, you know, one of them gets the nomination, and then everyone comes into the administration, and it's like, yeah. You know, that's what it is. Look at what happened in this primary alone, right? Kamala Harris shat on Joe Biden, right? She called him a fucking racist, which he is. It's probably the only honest thing she's ever said, right? She said, you opposed busing and I was that little girl. And now she's the fucking vice president. I mean, would you have believed it if I told you that? Do you see, my point here is how these people are always on the same team. It's all a fucking act. Between Democrats, Republicans, it's all a fucking act. Really remember this. Understand this. Understand this. And that's how they keep people locked into the system and make them think that they have choice and they have, you know, yeah, you got choice between diarrhea and diarrhea light. And it's not even light. It's just the same thing with a different wrapping. But you get the point. Am I telling you the truth or am I not telling you the truth? Come on.